Recently, we looked at first-person shooters on the Game Boy Advance. But why don't we look at another genre today? RPGs, racing games, adventure? Okay, I'm gonna stop you right there, no more guessing. Today, we're gonna look at pinball games, specifically on the Game Boy Advance. There's about a dozen pinball games on the GBA, and we'll focus on the North American releases. The most popular one being Pokemon Pinball. I have my childhood copy here, but there was other big franchises they released on pinball games on the GBA, like Sonic, Pacman, and okay, no more lollygagging. First, let's look at Pinball of the Dead. Pinball of the Dead released in 2002 by Sega and THQ, and was based on the House of the Dead games from the arcades. Remember these? Don't worry, my back hurts too. The game features different tables, and it has boss battles in the games. I've always liked these House of the Dead shooter games at the arcades, and the game does a pretty good job of bringing that theme to the pinball universe on the Game Boy Advance. When you start a game, you can shoot a zombie for bonus points, and the pin tables have higher locations. The game even features full motion videos. Overall, the physics are great, and I can hit certain locations that you aim for relatively easy. This game gives me the iPod click wheel game vibes. Remember Mystery Mansion pinball on the iPod back in the day? No, too niche, huh? Anyways, reception was good for the game, with Metacritic giving it a 79 out of 100. Killing zombies with the pinball is always fun, and this game I would say is one of the best pinball games on the GBA. It looks great, has good controls, and the game keeps things simple with a normal and challenge mode. Overall, it's exactly what you want from a pinball game on the go. Now, a pinball game that I can't say the same thing about is Pinball Tycoon. A little less known title than the other games, this game is basically the definition of a generic pinball game. This game has bad physics compared to the Pinball of the Dead one, but it has 4 tables. All generic, nothing special. It didn't even receive a rating from Metacritic, and this is probably why. What the is this? Okay, next up, let's look at a more popular franchise like Pacman Pinball. Pacman Pinball feels right. Pacman is the ball, of course, and that's perfect. He's already round, and after a small cutscene you can play 2 tables, Pacman Village and Haunted Boardwalk. The graphics are colorful, and it has good music. I like how they integrated things from the Pacman universe. The pellets are here and the ghost enemies, and you get power-ups like the Pacman Power Pellet. And you can eat ghosts. There's a shop too where you can enter and buy items, and even call up Mrs. Pacman and have 2 pinballs. Simple and fun, but I wish I had more tables. And also, there's no high score. Why am I playing? I'm no pinball genre expert, but isn't the high score pretty much needed in a pinball game? You want to get the highest score, or at least even have a score. Which leads me to see why it had mixed reviews, receiving around 50 out of 100. What about another generic pinball game? Hardcore Pinball. This game is a generic pinball in the naming and company part, but it's actually a good game. It has 4 boards with different themes, like a robot or a soccer one. The game controls well, and if you want to play a pinball game on the GBA, not from a big franchise, just simple, clean pinball. Unlike the next game, the Muppets Pinball. First you're greeted with the theme song, and the game itself plays like you're on the stage. So like Pac-Man, this game implements the elements from the franchise that it's in. There's 4 tracks, Kermit, Miss Piggy, Gonzo, and Animal, and every table has a theme based on that character. Overall, the controls are great, the game keeps things simple and adds the Muppet touch to it. The music is really good, especially the Animal table, and the game received a 75 on Metacritic, and a 79 on IGN, with people really liking the game. I like the feel and look and how they made the whole game feel like you're on the stage, true to the Muppets. When you enter or exit a level, the curtains drop and the music starts up again. It's really fun, and I don't know if pinball games are hard or I just kinda suck at pinball games. It was me, I suck at pinball. Another franchise to get a pinball game on the Game Boy Advance was Sonic. Sonic's Pinball Party. This game has a lot of different modes, an arcade mode, a story mode, a pet simulator side game, and even gambling. Now the story mode is basically a tournament by Eggman, and the first opponent is Knuckles. And basically Sonic's friends have been brainwashed by Dr. Eggman, with Tails finally telling Sonic how he really feels. I like the look of the game, and it does feel like Sonic with different modes, and the tables are fun. One question though, they should have made the pinball be Sonic, since, you know, he turns into a ball in the game, and he already has a pinball game as the ball, but I guess that would be weird with all the different characters. The controls are good, and this whole time I keep saying that without actually saying what the controls are, but that's because pinball games have easy controls, and by that I mean you basically use 2 buttons to control the flippers, usually left or right trigger, or A in the left D-pad. And some games have a tilt function, like Pac-Man, but you gotta be careful not to freeze your flippers up from overdoing it, like in the Muppets game. Sonic Pinball Party received a 77 from Metacritic, and I can see why, due to the story to keep it entertaining, and it even has multiplayer minigames. The Sonic game is really fun, and of course his rival from the 90s had to have its own pinball game on the GBA as well, Mario Pinball Land. So they got Mario, and they basically, they crushed him into a ball. So the Sonic Pinball game is an actual ball, and Mario Pinball is this? Anyways, the game takes a different approach to other games. Instead of being a pinball table, it's more an adventure pinball game where you can go to other areas, hence the land part. You can collect stars and open new areas, and there's boss battles too. And of course, if you fall down the flippers, you just fall down to the area below. You choose where to go, and you can decide what paths to take. There's items including the star power. While I really like the concept, I think the game lets you down a little bit. The game moves fast, but the physics feel a bit off. It's kinda hard to send the ball to a specific area you're trying to hit, and it feels like I don't have full control of the flipper angles. I think the open world-ish pinball design is great, and it received mixed reviews with a 62 out of 100 from Metacritic, and a 5 out of 10 from IGN, 7.5 from GameSpot, and a 3.8 out of 5 from Nintendo Power. The last game here is one I played as a kid, Pokemon Pinball. Although there's only 2 tables or boards, Ruby or Sapphire, each table is more than just a table. It's the region, and each one has exclusive Pokemon to catch just like the main games. The graphics are nice, the controls are perfect, and you get to catch Pokemon. Hatch eggs, evolve them, you can even fill up your Pokedex. This game is definitely the best pinball game on the GBA. Wait, dang, I had these on again? Okay, so even if I'm biased towards the game, the reception for the game was great, receiving an 82 from Metacritic and an 8.8 out of 10 from IGN. The pinball games on the GBA offer enough variety, with some really fun games. Pinball games are supposed to offer replayability for that high score and make the game fun in the process. Sure, they won't replace a real pinball table, but they're fun on the go. Hey, what the heck, who put these flippers here?